Ladies and gentlemen, CWC 2021 ongoing still. We are back with another round of Suity. My name is Sarton. I'm joined by two wonderful gentlemen as always today. We have JB Hyperion and we have Zach here. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing just good.
Just good. Yeah, pretty good. Nice day. Ready for some more fruit catching. Semifinals coming up, quarterfinals behind us. Getting to the real business end now. 4 more teams went home last week, sadly, so going to see who's going to join them this time.
So getting all serious up in here, and it's been a very nice tournament so far, but it's going to get even better from here on, so thank you guys for joining for the ride so far. And we're going to quickly discuss what happened last week in the quarterfinals, see what happened to all those teams playing. We're going to have a look at these week's matches as well, go for a little bit of a prediction round, and then we'll finally get into the first match of today as well, right after that. So we're going to go ahead and start with Hong Kong versus China last week. So this was the first match that was played last week, and also in order of bracket, it was the highest up in the bracket. We're going to go over these matches in order of bracket, so just so you know. And wow, what a surprise. A lot of people were surprised by the outcome. Not so much, but more by the score line that happened in this game. So Hong Kong, we already consider to be a super strong contender this year, and they've proven themselves already like plenty of times this tournament. So it's no surprise that they would be really good in this round as well, considering that in the round of 16, they only had 8 misses in total in their entire game. So like the entire match, 8 matches, that's pretty much unheard of. I'm not entirely sure if that ever happened in any other round of 16 ever, really. But in quarterfinals, again, they were so much stronger than any other team, and that's why they were able to come up with the scoreline of 6-1 to China. What happened?
This very crazy.
Yeah, nobody expected such a performance.
I mean, looking at their group stage performance, they did only lose a single game. They beat Poland 6-0, who, whilst a top seed, were maybe like more of a high-seeded team based on some of the performance of teams this year. They do have a very strong team. China is missing a few of its players that it's had over the past kind of 5 years or so. So I think anyone could have been forgiven for thinking that Hong Kong had a chance to win. The fact that they did it in such a dominating fashion, as you said, Sarton, I don't think anyone really expected it to go quite that one-sided.
Yeah, exactly. Well, from my prediction, I can remember saying it would become 6-4, 6-5 for Hong Kong. So I was already riding that hype train from Hong Kong, which not so lot of people did. Not the majority, I think, at least. And, well, Hong Kong themselves also didn't really expect to win. Not in this fashion either. So it was just incredible to see, especially considering that China never really underperforms in tournaments either. And that was, again, the case this round. They really didn't underperform at all. They were still very high level in all of their plays. Maybe a little weak on some of the hidden picks here and there. But other than that, really nothing to complain about. And still losing this badly to Hong Kong. Yeah, we'll need to start the discussion on whether Hong Kong will actually keep up this momentum up until the very end of the tournament, or whether, as some people, including myself, expect will happen, they will not be quite as strong in the super late rounds of the tournament as the map pool difficulty increases, and if they're gonna lose due to that factor to other countries such as South Korea or maybe China again, for example. A match that could very possibly happen too, because South Korea Hong Kong could very well happen next week if both of these teams win this round in winners bracket. So that's going to be exciting to see. But all in all, wow, Hong Kong, you're surprising, and it's amazing to see you guys. It's incredible to see. Good.
Yeah, so to pick up on what you said about China, Sutton, both times China have won the Catch World Cup in 2016 and 2018. They did it through the losers bracket, and the team that they lost to in the like the main draw before they got to the final was the team that they eventually beat 2 times in the grand final. So China Hong Kong grand final, maybe
could happen. You never know. It is a good possibility. China is probably the most likely country to come out of the losers bracket. At least people will probably expect that for now. So yeah, very well happen. Or maybe a third place game could happen between those two countries. We will have to wait and see, but I'm just very excited either way for what will happen exactly. So good job to Hong Kong and China. Again, good job to you guys too, but this time around you were just not the stronger team, which is very unexpected. But it's nice to see a little bit of a change of pace as well every so often, right?
They'll come
Yeah.
back stronger. Like, they're typically very well matched against teams in the lower stages, and they scale well towards the end. So I don't think China are one of these teams that's going to drop off massively towards the later end. They have a chance to come back.
I believe
I
so as well.
can definitely agree to that, given our track record against China.
I don't bring anything up, Zach, but thank you for saying so.
Yeah, a bit of history between Zach and the Chinese team. Beating them once and then losing pretty badly in the grand finals one time. That was an unfortunate event, but you guys played well too. So
That's a good example of their scaling.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why the big question now becomes whether Hong Kong will be able to keep up this pace or whether they'll drop off eventually. Because if they keep it up, they'll very likely be considered for first place. So looking forward to it. And this round is going to be very telling for that team. I think we can continue to your country now, Zach, right after this, because in order of brackets, the second match that we're going to have to discuss is United States versus France. The match that happened a few times in CWC already, mostly happening in like round of 16 quarterfinals. I'm pretty sure you guys faced off a lot. Your thoughts? Go ahead. You can go ahead and just talk us through what your experience was. Would be a lot more interesting than hear me rambling about it.
Honestly, we expected to do a little better than we ended up doing overall. Like, we didn't expect them to take the first 2 points. And then after that, though, we got our momentum back and, we kept it relatively even for the rest of the match. And then during the tiebreaker, we just could not keep it together well enough.
Yeah, considering the results in the match, indeed, the tiebreaker was very telling of how strong the no-mod skills are for France, as well as just the sheer fact that they don't seem to get quite as nervous on maps, even though Totobas, from what I remember, at least on Twitter, posted that he had like a mental breakdown after the game. So I'm hoping he's doing all right now, because he did carry a lot of weight that game, but GG to him.
Well, if you can assess the tiebreaker after an hour and a quarter of playing, then you could have fooled me into thinking that he was doing pretty fine.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, he did really good, honestly.
Just that single miss on the side of France in that tiebreaker. So 2 FCs and 1 miss. That was an insane final performance from them.
Exactly. Nothing that Yuze could have really done against that, considering all of the team members dropped a few times, 6, 9, and 17 misses. Quite unfortunate to see.
Yeah, it was a really nice match, though.
It was a great game, indeed. It was the
most I enjoyed playing.
Yeah, and you play well too. I should definitely say that as well. Like, the hidden play for you, Yuze, was very nice as always. You and Lexia just very on point. And truly, it seemed that France was just a little bit stronger on the things such as high AR stuff. Looking at the hard rock and the double time performance throughout the game, maybe just a little bit. And they were also really strong on no mod, obviously, as they've always been. Actually getting most of the points on there, so excuse me on saying that double time hard rock performance thing just now. It was mostly the normal skill for France being that little bit tighter than you guys, it seems, despite the hard rock and double time being fairly closely matched.
Yeah, this year we're just a little weaker in that aspect than previous years.
Yeah, I would definitely think so. With the missing of Russell, we keep bringing up pretty much every Fruity Fruity. I told these guys before, and like I constantly say Fruity instead of Fruity, so don't judge me for that. But yeah, you're missing out on Russell. That's kind of unfortunate indeed, and it goes to show a little bit in games like these where I would have expected you guys to otherwise have won, but now just losing out, but it's a little bit. It's unfortunate for you guys, but it was the most entertaining game of the weekend, at least, so you got that in your pocket. So
we're glad to entertain.
You, especially as a streamer, I assume. Yeah. Any thoughts on your end as well, JBH?
Zach's already said kind of everything that I wanted to say much better than I could have said it as the player. But one thing I do want to say is we talked about how Hong Kong beating China was exciting, and Hong Kong will be kind of making, hopefully, their best performance in the World Cup to date. And France are not a team that has ever secured a podium finish either. So we've got Hong Kong, a team that's never secured a podium, beating a 2-time winner and I think 4-time runner-up. We've got France, a team that's also never secured a podium, beating a 2-time second place and once third, I think, Zach, is that correct?
Once second, once third.
Once second, once third. Okay, so there's two kind of, I want to say upcoming teams. So they're not upcoming. These players have been playing the World Cup for years now. But teams that are potentially now able to go on to a run that they will never have had the chance to get to before. And it's very exciting to see two fresh teams kind of battling it out for that place in a grand final, or a winners final certainly, which will effectively guarantee a top 3 finish.
Yeah, it'll be a really interesting match to see.
Yeah, they'll be playing in like 49 minutes. France.
Yeah, straight after
Hong Kong.
this.
Straight after this too, so you want to check that out, guys. So stay tuned. But yeah, good game played by both teams once again. France doing very nicely, especially considering that the team roster is always kind of unstable throughout the years. It's always very unclear to see who's actually like feeling like playing on the end of France, who actually ends up playing as well. And this time around, they've been able to put in like solid players into the roster, really nice players, and goes to show for making it to the winners bracket semi-finals already, winning twice in that knockout stage. So that's very nice to see. Good job there to France. So thumbs up to them, especially. We're gonna continue to the next match, I think, which is in the correct order: South Korea versus Chile. So a lot of people actually expected Chile to do really well in this game. I saw on the pick'ems, and I saw like some your teammates, Sekre, also talking about it a lot, Zach, thinking that Chile would actually take the game against South Korea due to South Korea underperforming a little bit throughout the tournament, even though I didn't really agree to that. And it seems that I was right. South Korea took that game 6-1 against Chile in the end, it's turned out. Neither team played bad, though, but it seems that just South Korea was just that little bit stronger on pretty much everything. Having some close calls here and there, some really close calls, I should say. The one point that Chile won was also a really close call, though, on a hard rock pick. The difference of about 30,000 points. It wasn't even like that super comfortable and confident of a win. But anything else, yeah, fairly strong indeed by South Korea. Might have mistaken the scoreline there real quick. I'll need to check that because it just said 6-1. It was 6-1, so it
was 6-1, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the multiplayer lobby is looking a little
weird. I
think
it's missing a game, but I'm not sure whether it's a game right at the beginning or right at the end.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not entirely sure. So some close calls, some definitely not that close calls here and there. Overall, in general, South Korea is just looking like to have this bit of a steadier setup than Chile this year. Even though both teams are very familiar with playing tournaments, I would even say South Korea has like the newer team with people playing for the first time ever, such as Abstract, whereas Chile has the more veteran type of players on their end. Yeah, it turns out that South Korea is still the South Korea we've all gotten to know throughout the years, and they are still really strong, and they can still pull some really great games, such as this 161 scoreline. It's nothing to sneeze at, definitely.
Yeah, the scoreline didn't really do Chile much of a favourable service this time around. There were three games in a row, as you said, where the scoreline was less than 25,000. There was only one game, I believe, where the difference was like more than 150,000. They played really well, but South Korea have just not really lost an inch for performing in CWC. They look as strong as ever, even with a couple of new players.
Yes, correct indeed. Looking at the multiplayer lobby, there were like 2 scores over 100,000 points, I'm pretty sure. One of them being a little over 200,000, but yeah, it's just that those little imperfections that Chile might have, which Korea just a little bit better. They just were able to iron out all those chinks in their play style. Any mods is just really strong on the end of South Korea, and again, like you already said, JBH, nothing to sneer at as well in terms of like Chile's performance. They're a really strong team too, and they have been a really strong team in past years, and they have gotten podium places every so often. And those are the same guys playing for that team, so it's not like they've gotten worse over time at all. But yeah, they've always just had this little bit of a shortcoming compared to South Korea for the most part, and shows here once again. It could have been a way better scoreline for Chile too. It has happened in the past with better scorelines, but winning seemed to be a little out of reach for Chile this year against South Korea, this round at least.
I mean, there's a reason South Korea is always pretty much the favorite to win.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as always, I think most people have expected South Korea to take this year's CWC, and it's just the sheer amount of talent that they have throughout the entire country too. It's not just the 6 players playing this year; it's just that they could throw in other people too and still be really fine in this tournament,
as they've done in the past.
as
Yeah.
they've done in the past, basically. And this year, again, they've done a little bit of a swap up with a lot of players, and it's still working really well for them. So props to them for being able to pull off such nice and consistent high-end scores every single time. Very impressive and very well deserved too for the amount of time they put into the game. So yeah, well played by both teams. Once again, scoreline of 6-1. Unfortunately for Chile, but they'll hopefully be able to recover a little bit in this coming round and show and flex their muscles a little bit because they can. They can. I think that's suffice for that match. We'll continue to Philippines versus the Russian Federation. One match that I just completely miscalled last weekend. That was the only match where I was really off with the prediction, and I'm still not too happy about my predictory skills in that sense. But all right, Russia losing that one to Philippines actually 6-3. And my prediction would have pretty much gone the other way, actually, because I was really into that Russian hype train by now because of their upset against Poland in the initial group stage round. Then they did really well in round of 16, and I expected them to continue that trend in this match too, considering that Philippines had a little bit of a weaker round in the round of 16, but Philippines picked themselves up, man. Like, whoa, okay, they got it again. It seems that Roido again became Steroido in that match. Everybody really happy on the end of Philippines, probably because he played really well, and everybody else on the end of Philippines also just being really consistent throughout the entire game. One thing that was clear to see in that game is that Russia's hidden performance was just not on par with Philippines. Not even really that close, honestly. The first match they played in that game, they lost by a margin of 448,000 points. So, not really the greatest of stats for a team like Russia, who's doing an uphill battle here, it seems. And yeah, the games that went on from there were fairly close every single time. And there were some times where I really believed Russia would take that point, but then they lost right at the end. Score difference of 14,000 points, 15,000 points. You have to think about, guys, and that's just one score, but that's like multiple maps in the match too. And those were mostly a coin toss, but hidden was definitely like favoring Philippines this round, and well, it seems that the 50-50 also went in favor of Philippines for the most part in this game, at least.
Yeah, one thing I really like about the Philippine roster is you have a lot of teams that have like 2 really good players and then they're kind of struggling to find a third player to keep up with them. Philippines do have 2 really great players in Roido and Bunrae, but their third player is someone who rotates like nicely around, fits into that slot depending on the situation. So Crowley's excellent at these kind of lower approach rate hidden picks. Kielzu, Kagamine Rin can slot in really nicely on Hard Rock and Double Time. And although they don't have kind of 3 players that are just good at everything, it does allow that third player spot to kind of be filled in by someone else, give people a little bit of a rest, and ensures that everyone is kind of nice and fresh, which is a thing, as you said, that really gave them an advantage here. Whereas Russia were pretty much always playing with Nelly, Kitsunaivi, Memoriola pretty much throughout the whole match. And by the end of the match, it did start to wear on them. It looked like they were getting a bit tired.
I mean, and Summoner played a lot of these games too, I should say. So it was a 4 versus 4 man game for the most part, it seems. But I would say that the role that Kitsunaivi and the Summoner have to fill for the most part was just a little tougher for them to realize. Whereas Kielzu, clearly a Hard Rock Double Time player, just played the Double Time Hard Rock play maps. And Crowley, a very typical hidden player, guess what he did? Play the hidden maps, right? So it was a very clear-cut case of, okay, this is the roles you're designated to, and you're going to play these maps, whereas Russia kind of had to mix and mingle a little bit throughout the maps, which makes you a little bit more inconsistent at times, especially something that you could see at the very final map, I should mention, where Russia Insomnia's performance mainly, I should say, just wasn't up to par from something you'd expect from Insomnia. Kielzu also had this issue, it seemed, but yeah, that's what you get for having to swap out a lot and doing things you might not be like super comfortable with. especially a double time like that, which is like very old map style, something that Zach would definitely like, right?
Well, I actually tried it earlier in the week, but I was like, yeah, this one's not for me.
Not for you. Damn, that's unfortunate. But some other time you might get into that double time brackets. I would love to see it. I think he did that once, right?
This late in the tournament, very unlikely.
Okay, unfortunate. But maybe you can throw in the curveball. Who knows? Who knows? We don't know what maps there will be upcoming in the next few rounds. But yeah. I think that both teams performed all right in this game. I think they could do even better, and I hope to see that next round. I still think there's even more potential in either, and this is a very fair outcome for the most part. And I think plenty of people also expect the Philippines to win this game as opposed to Russia, which I expected. But I'm not sure how you guys actually predicted this game. Maybe you can like tell us your initial predictions.
I did expect Philippines to. Oh, for the next match?
No. This game. This one.
Oh, yeah. I actually would have expected Philippines to just come out on top from the beginning as well.
Okay, and what about you, JBH?
I think Russia looked really strong up to this point, but there were a couple of games where even though they won, you could tell that, as you said, that third player was starting to struggle, even in the some of the harder round of 16 picks, because we did have quite a hard round of 16 pool in some aspects. And I figured that was probably going to be more of a problem here, which it was, and Philippines scaled quite a bit better. So I think going forward, Philippines will have a bit of a better time, and Russia will maybe not have quite so good of a time. So yeah, Philippines were my pick.
Guess I'm the only one then. Okay, never mind. Maybe riding the hype train a little too high, but I'm thinking that Russia might still pull off some really nice scores this weekend, and yeah, especially considering that I'm fairly sure that Memoriolo was just like admitted out of hospital when they played this game, so maybe Memoriolo will be a little fitter for the upcoming match as well. Really looking forward to see them play, and yeah, Philippines seeing down in that winners bracket now, having a fairly tough game upcoming too, so don't want to miss out on that one against South Korea. The monsters of South Korea, yeah, always tough. But yeah, we'll continue with a full-on European match. Poland versus Italy. This is a losers bracket game that took place last week. So getting into the losers bracket now. So the teams that lost the following games are out of the tournament, very unfortunately. That's just the way it goes. So Poland, Italy with a scoreline of 6-2, I'm pretty sure. Just double checking. Yep,
6-2.
Yeah, it always feels like Poland just gets the worst possible matchups in the knockout stages. It always feels like it. And again, they're facing off versus a giant very early on. Italy in the loser bracket, like in your first loser bracket round, is the last thing you're really looking at for. And all in all, it was a fair game for either team. I think that Italy did all right for the most part. I think Poland did all right for the most part too. Could have both played a tad bit better here and there. I think that the best map that they played in the entire game was the reunion map. I saw a lot of misses from other teams that didn't have like old school players in the roster. They're a little more used to that style. But in this game, specifically between Poland and Italy, very few misses to be seen on that map. So that's really impressive.
Yeah, a lot of the matches were really close.
Yeah, some of the matches were really close indeed. Some were very much decisively favoring Italy too. No, actually, one hidden pick was really favoring Poland, but you know the hidden map pool is like only that big. So,
well, on Hidden 1, the difference was under 2,000 points.
Yeah, this match got off to a really terrible start for Poland. They obviously lost their first game. Italy picked into double time, and they said, okay, well, we're a good hidden team. We'll pick Hidden 1. Bobber of Darkness did not have a good time on that pick at all. They lost by, as you said, Zach, 1,980 points. And at that point, we were kind of thinking, like, Poland, are you there? Like, Italy didn't perform very well on Hidden either. So their opponents looking forward are going to be saying, well, even if we don't like Hidden, we're going to pick Hidden because we know Italy don't like it.
Yeah, it's very unexpected for it to turn out that way.
Yeah, you could tell that Polish confidence was shot very early on, and it persisted throughout the match, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate way, an unfortunate footing you're on when you're 2-0 down and your pick on hidden. You weren't able to win against Italy. That's just really unfortunate, especially considering that Italy, from like the top echelon teams, probably like has maybe the weakest hidden team, maybe like except for Russia. Not entirely sure, but not really. A country that a lot of other countries would definitely play hidden against, or at least opt to pick against Italy. And yeah, as already mentioned, they didn't really play that hidden pick too well either. So Poland should have had that one, and if they did, this dynamic would have been way different. The dynamic in the match would have been way different, probably, and Poland would have taken up another 2 or 3 points, maybe even forced a tiebreaker.
Could have been a little confidence boost.
Oh, yeah, surely. But sadly, they weren't able to pull that off. And from there on, there were some really close points, as Zach already mentioned. Mostly comes down to 1 or 2 misses every map. And yeah, not really the performance from either team that we hoped for, but that's just the way it went. And I do believe that Poland could have done a bit better. I did expect Italy to win, I believe. But yeah, Italy also kind of has to pick up the game, I would suggest, in the upcoming rounds if they want to continue through the tournament. They're already in loser's bracket, obviously, so losing once and you're out at that point. And they're going to have some really tough opponents coming up that have performed better in the tournament so far. So not looking too great with this track record. So I hope they can pick up the game from this point onward, because they're going to need it real badly.
Well, you mentioned that Russia didn't like hidden either, and Russia and Italy are their opponents in the upcoming semi-final losers bracket. So yeah, we might see hidden just left entirely alone.
I'll take a shot every time they pick it in.
I mean, if it's a close match though, then we might see some hidden, and we have no idea what to expect from that if it's picked.
If we see hidden picked, it's going to be a case of we know we're going to do bad, but we're not going to do as bad as the other team. So
yeah, it's basically which team will do worse, not which team will do better.
Yeah,
that happens sometimes in CWC, but this late, it's very uncommon to happen, that kind of strategy where a team
it's a gamble
bad
for sure.
on a certain mod still picks up that against the other team.
Italy is a team that scales though, so they might start performing better now that it's, in a later round.
Yeah, maybe, but that would mostly be hard work in double time, I would say, because then you really have we need to say Kama 79 now, which is Karen, and Arma just, everybody knows those two guys by now being
they're the Italian powerhouses.
Yeah, basically, absolutely nuclear their performance for the most part, and it stays like that in the later rounds, or even gets better, really, because they're not really used to playing like the lower end difficulties in CWC. It's not really something that they play too often, so anything in the very late rounds is just on their end. And yeah, Poland sadly can't really show off because they're out of the tournament from here on out, so that's unfortunate. And again, those matchups have really been a big factor once again for Poland's loss here, I do believe. And that's just the sad reality of it. So well played to both teams. I'm hoping to see even better performance for Italy, and they'll need it against Russia too. Maybe they'll indeed pick hidden. Could be. It would be weird to see. But Russia was the only team to have performed worse than hidden in that weekend, I do believe. So still reasonable enough to try. Yeah. Alrighty. Big quick continue to Canada versus Taiwan. So this was, again, like, not really the closest of games in terms of scoreline. It was a 6-2 scoreline. And honestly speaking, bits of underperformance from Taiwan for the most part. Score differences were quite major. Sometimes they were fairly close, but when you look through the multiplayer lobby, at the start of the match, a lot of the score differences are very big, especially on hidden picks. It seems that Taiwan struggled on. Later towards the game, you had some really close games with the score difference about 14,000 in favor of Taiwan, actually. Another one of 23,000, which went to Canada right at the end. But anything before that, hidden just wasn't really too great in the end of Taiwan throughout the entirety of the game. And that's where Canada was able to capitalize on, and anything else was a bit of a coin toss. Normal and Hard Rock obviously being really strong assets for Canada. So if they already are winning on Hidden, it's very unlikely you're still going to beat Canada because their Hard Rock and Normal is really good. And again, it showed this time around just being more consistent, just better all in all. So it's a very fair game for Canada to have won that one. And I think the scoreline is actually fairly representative of the outcome as well. What do you guys think?
Taiwan looked really strong on most of the double times. They won one, and I think they won both of the double times, Abracadabra and Resurrected Replayer. They were kind of a bit further away on a lot of the other mods, though. Like every other mod besides double time, which Canada didn't do badly on. Taiwan just performed best on double time, but Canada looked a class above on every other mod, really. They looked pretty solid, pretty consistent. Very few areas where they looked, I say, weak or like they could be vulnerable. And as a team, generally they all performed to a similar skill. There were very few cases where one player kind of carried the team and other players were lagging behind. It was very often a case where they all missed once, or they missed between 1 and 2 times, or so on, which is good because you need everyone to be feeling inclusive as part of that team, not like they're being carried and they're expected to overperform above their kind of weight limit, I guess, like what people expect of them.
Yeah, in previous years, like Canada hasn't really gotten all that far into the tournament, but this year they really showed up with a very solid lineup, and that's kind of like they're just performing really well overall this year.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it a few times already that Canada's tournament performance in particular is really good. Most of the time, Canada was considered to be more of a, what would you call it, a solo player country, where people are really good in solo play, but in tournaments they're just that bit weaker. Not really the case this year, though. Canada is looking really nice, and I've heard that they've done really well in scrims as well, and in general, their tournament performance, as you can see, is really solid. Winning against Taiwan is definitely nothing to sneer at. Considering that team had a good match again versus France, and France then beat USA. So that's the kind of power level we're working with Canada already. They're on the top end of the tournament by now, and yeah, good performance by them on everything. Double time wasn't bad on there, and those matches were won by a very slim margin by Taiwan, and anything else was just definitely Canada. So well deserved. Unfortunate for Taiwan. I did expect them to do a lot better, honestly, especially on these hidden picks. I remember Taiwan to be a lot better on those, not just this tournament, like any tournament. It just seemed really weird to me, and it's just a bit of a mismatch. It seemed for mismatch there for Taiwan. So that's unfortunate. They'll be back next year, and I just hope that one time they're finally able to make that, well, not per se podium run, but like a really late game run where they'll get like top 6. I think they can do it, but so far it's just not quite there yet.
Yeah, this was the first time in the last 5 years that Taiwan hadn't ever won a knockout match in CWC, and a lot of the success they've had previous years has been the strength of their hidden. So I think I agree with you, Sartan, that it was a bit of a surprise to see them underperforming on hidden this time around.
Yep, really unfortunate indeed. So hopefully they'll be back better and stronger and greater next year. We have to wait. It's going to be a long year still, right? And there's still this tournament. So we're going to continue with Australia versus Germany, the second to last match of last week, and then we're going to discuss. Pretty much, we just need to applaud Australia for this one. Great performance by these guys. Yeah, I think that a lot of people have now agreed to the sentiment that Germany is a really strong team, but not really the greatest of tournament teams. Just like with Canada, maybe a bit more of a solo player team, if I can coin that term. And yeah, again this year, not really the strongest of performances from any sort of top seed. Still, though, I still expected them to win against Australia because Australia hasn't really ever been known to be this super high-end Osu Catch type of team. Never really has been known as that. And this time around, they actually proved to be really good. In every single round so far, they've proven to be amazing. And this is no different with the match against against Germany. So Germany did have a single disconnect on the very first map, which was really unfortunate. That might have bottlenecked the team a little bit. I'm pretty sure that in Ryoku had some computer issues, which disallowed them to play for a lot of the games. That's really unfortunate. That might have proven to have been a very handy asset to them. But on that map in particular, their inclusion wouldn't really have mattered, because even if they AFC'd the map, Australia would have still won that first game. And from there onward, there were some pretty close scores. But yeah, most of them were taken by Australia, and some were taken by Germany, such as the hidden picks, something that we did call in advance. We did expect Germany to do better hidden, at least in Australia. That turned out to be the case indeed. On the first map, at least, I should say, because the second hidden pick went to Australia out of the blue. Very big surprise once again. And yeah, from there on, it just seemed that every single time Australia just did just a little bit better than Germany. No blowouts to be seen throughout the entirety of the game, but just that little bit better. You know, that's the 10 to 100,000 score difference every single time. Those 1 to 3 misses seem to favor Australia a lot of the time.
Yeah, so from Taiwan, a team that had almost never lost a knockout stage, or never not won a knockout stage match in CWC, Australia have won their first ever knockout stage match in CWC. So they're guaranteed, no matter what happens now, they are guaranteed their highest ever finish in CWC history, which is really good. And to second that, Hidden, again, Australia are a team that have been very good at Hidden. That's been one of their strengths, something that they frequently pick in the earlier rounds that they are very familiar with. Hidden was a complete massacre in this match. We had like 40 misses at times. Multiple times we had like more than 10 misses for every player on a team. It was close, but neither Germany nor Australia enjoyed Hidden at all here, which surprised me a lot.
Yeah, especially on that second map, there was just so many misses all across. I think that Germany played very adequate on that first hidden pick on Kaibutsu, but him, it's a way different story. Yeah, the total miss kind of lobby was definitely over 150, I think. Well, actually not 150, but definitely over 100. So
it was high.
It was very high. Let's not do too many maths here, but it was pretty high indeed. A little unexpected from the end of Germany and Australia. Yeah, they're all right on hidden, but it's not their strong suit, I would say. It's more like hard rock and double time. But then again, I never really considered these guys to be like on the very high end level of cats still till this day. But it seems they are now, looking at the match results. So I'm not going to go against that, obviously. But yeah, their hard rock and double time seem to always be like their stronger suits, but not quite as strong as, let's say, South Korea, for example, even though that's a bit of a cheap shot. Yeah, but they've proven themselves this match, I do believe, against Germany, and they are going to see in that losers bracket just that little further.
Say it's kind of like Canada, where they usually haven't performed too well in the World Cup, but this year they just showed up with the best possible team they could put together, and they're just doing a really good job, showing that they're actually strong. And I'd say Germany has just kind of slowly gotten weaker and weaker by just a tiny little bit as the years go on, like because their, I'd say, earlier World Cup appearances, they did really good, always advancing to finals and whatnot, and then over the past like 3 or so years, they just have been struggling to advance to the later rounds.
Yeah, it's not quite the same story as, like, say, Argentina, when you think of teams that really fell off from being an incredibly strong team with like top 10, top 25 ranked players that always won matches, to suddenly having no one capable of filling a third slot and frequently losing out because of that third player. They're like, the decline of Germany has been much slower, to the point where many people, and I think myself included, didn't really notice it until it's put into perspective in tournaments and matches like this. We kind of, going into this, you would have thought that Germany were definitely the favourites, but they didn't really have an answer to Australia here.
Yeah, the answer would have been hidden and should have been hidden, but didn't quite work out too well. No, but should have been more of a coin toss as well. I mean, it wasn't like a blowout difference by any means on those maps, but yeah, again, like I already mentioned, it's more of a solo player type of team where the individuals are all really good, but when thrown into the tournament atmosphere, they just underperform to what you'd expect them to do, which is there's no shame to be had there. Obviously, that's all fine. Some people just don't really like playing tournaments, and that's all. You can play the game however you want, obviously, but it's just unfortunate to see, especially for I assume like German fans who have like hopes up and expectations high and want them to perform well. It's just unfortunate for them. So, but that's the way it is. Australia continuing through the losers bracket, and we're gonna have to say goodbye to Germany for now. But they'll always be
against
back.
us next.
Yeah. So, final game of last weekend we're gonna get into is Indonesia versus Finland, and yeah, this match honestly was very. The outcome was pretty much very clear. It was a sweep first of all for Indonesia, 6-0 scoreline. So no maps were won by Finland in this game. Some maps were somewhat close, but most of the maps, definitely Indonesia was the favorite to be seen here. Just a very weird change of pace of Finland, I would say. They weren't the favorites in the tournament by any means. I think nobody expected them to absolutely go take everything. And I even believe that a lot of people would have expected them to drop out before finals. But I would have expected a bit of a better fight from them in this game. Looking at the scorelines that they were pulling off on some of the maps, it mostly seemed to come down to one person as well, which was not like one specific person, which is one person of the three players. Seemed to underperform on every single map, just having a really high miscount compared to the other two people. And this was anybody on their team. It was really, it felt almost random at times. Hidden performance, just not really on par with Indonesia. And yeah, Indonesia was very handily able to take that because of those reasons. Yeah, just a bit of a very unfortunate underperformance over Finland, I would say.
Indonesia has always just been a really strong team, though. They're a little bit weaker this year compared to like their best years, like when they could get top 3 before, but they're still very, very strong, and nobody should expect them to just, be like crushed by even the highest teams that we're seeing this year.
I mean, I defy anyone to say that Dika is not as strong as they've ever been. I think it was 4 MVP games in of the 6 that match, and they looked really, really strong. As you said, Sarton, that Finland frequently had a kind of not the same third player, but there was someone that was kind of falling behind in the games throughout. Indonesia very infrequently had a player who was more than kind of 50 or 100,000 points behind the rest. They looked super consistent, which is exactly what we've come to expect from a team that has secured a second place, a third place, fourth place. Yeah, they've very frequently been all the way at the top.
Yep, second place in 2016, I believe, and like third in 2017. Just really good track record for a country. And so far, they haven't really been able to pull off the same sort of results in the latest few editions of the CWC tournament, which, yeah, kind of unexpected too, as I do see the players improving every so often. Dika's got some super high rank not so long ago. Netamaru always been a really good player and always on the top end of the player spectrum. No Galaxy this year is one thing that a lot of people were questioning, but it is the way it is. But Galaxy can be filled very handily with other players in the Indonesian region. So, yeah, it's definitely like we expected them very likely to win against Finland, but the way they performed makes me worry about their upcoming rounds too. It's not really as high level as what they've been able to do, and definitely not quite as high levels of the other teams either. And I think that their mod plays, especially Hard Rock, are just a little below par from what you expect from players that are like they get PP records through means of playing Hard Rock and double time as well. So it's kind of abstract to see in that sense. But we'll hope for the best for them, and they continue their journey in Finland. I'm gonna have to say goodbye to them. My flag banner on my profile has been rendered useless by now, but I still support you guys through the journey, and was happy to see you guys play. Funny dudes indeed. I think that's it for the rounds of the round of 16, the matches of that round.
That's everything covered.
Yeah, so we can go on to predictions for this round. It's going to be a little tough to predict. We're not going to go over the conditional matches because that will be a lot of work. There's some conditional matches happening this week, and depending on who wins in the winners bracket and who wins in the losers bracket, etc. So we're just going to go over the matches that are certainly going to be played this weekend, which in the winners bracket are Hong Kong versus France versus South Korea and the Philippines. And then over the initial loser bracket games, which are Russia, Italy, Chile, Canada, USA, Australia, and China, Indonesia. And then the matches that will spur from those matches, we're not gonna predict those because that, be too much. Okay, so we have to first look at this combination of outcomes, and then that's too much work, especially for 40 minutes. So let's go over those winner bracket matches first, as we have Hong Kong versus France. I don't want to be too blunt here, but Hong Kong is just godlike this year. It's just really weird the way they performed, and I think that this stage we'll still see the godlike performance level from Hong Kong. France is great too. So don't get me wrong, France is absolutely amazing, but I think Hong Kong, maybe not on Nomad, but everything else they'll be stronger on than France. They won 6-1 against China. Let's remember that for Hong Kong. Let's remember that real quick. And a match outcome between China and France would very likely favor China, I would say. I don't think that scaling will work too well on this game. Maybe considering that France will take a few no more points, if anything. But I'm still saying that Hong Kong's going to win this 6-2, and maybe 6-1. I don't think France is going to be able to retaliate too well. What do you guys think?
How strong Hong Kong has been performing just pretty much every stage, they're kind of just, the outright favorite to win this one.
You want to give a score, or are we not committing to scores? I'm not doing pick'ems this year.
I'm not doing
pick'ems
either, but I'm gonna have to agree with Sarton where it'll probably be like 6-1, maybe 6-2. But there's only so much you can do against a team that strong.
Yeah, Hong Kong's players have looked super strong. France, for their kind of part, have had moments, maybe a few more moments than Hong Kong, where they've looked a little shaky, but they have also looked otherwise incredibly strong. So I hear your logic in that Hong Kong is going to take this one, but I feel that a match like this, with the prospect of a guaranteed podium for the victor, even if they lose to Korea or the Philippines next week, that is a massive kind of carrot dangled in front of you, like spurring you on, leading you on. So I think this comes down a lot to who wants it more. And although I think that Hong Kong does have the stronger team on paper, I want to say that France's players, who have more often experienced like that heartbreak, that kind of disaster of everything going wrong in the past, France's players want this victory. They want that podium more. So I want to give them a chance and say that this will be their match.
Okay, we're going to see JBH be proven wrong in 11 minutes as we continue to your predictions. Kidding. South Korea and Philippines is going to be the next match. We're going to be discussing the only leftover match in the winners brackets. South Korea, Philippines. Again, Philippines is not unstable per se this year. They are always fairly alright, but some stages are just better than other stages. And so far, South Korea is just strong, really strong at this stage. No issues.
What Korea does.
Yeah, in light of that, I think that Philippines will be able to get a few points maybe versus South Korea. Not sure on which mod though. That's one tough time they'll be having, like deciding which maps they want to play against South Korea, because I believe South Korea is just this little better on every single mod without Philippines being strong on any of them, like in particular. Maybe Hard Rock, maybe Hidden, but then again, if you compare people like Roido to Draystar or Abstract to Bunray, you might still want to favor the South Koreans over them. So this could be 6-0. It could be 6-0, but it could also be 6-5, right? So it's hard for me to decide like which way it will go. It will be determined a lot throughout the start of the match as well, I believe. If Philippines is able to get a bit of a footing, then maybe they'll be able to grab like 4 or 5 points even. But if they can't, might be a blowout. So my safe prediction is gonna go to 6-2 for South Korea.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, if you're South Korea, you don't get to the semifinals having lost a one single game out of the 5 matches that you've played thus far. When you have opponents like Chile and Australia, you just don't get that far, only losing one game and then not be considered the overwhelming favorite. I'm sorry, Philippines are a great team, but South Korea are a legendary team, and even with a couple of roster swaps, they don't lose anything. Like, they don't lose any kind of skill. They don't lose any potential. They're still the 5-time world champions, and they're gonna win quite comfortably.
These men refuse to drop score predictions, but okay, then we shall continue to Russia versus Italy. We kind of have to hurry, it seems. Russia-Italy, again, a EU match, EU-only match. That's fun to see. I think it's the 2 of the 3 leftover EU teams in the tournament too. We only have France in the winners bracket. Yeah, we kind of went over this already, sort of, I believe. This could be a hidden... it could be hidden played in this match, which is really weird because neither team feels like it. But Italy might go for that, and I believe Italy to be a tad bit stronger on both double time and hard work as well, if Russia's going to play like last week. But you never know with Russia. If they feel like it, and if they practice a lot more than Italy, they'll be stronger than Italy on those mods too. Don't forget they have Insomnia, Memoriola, and Nelly. Those aren't players that are just somewhere like hidden in the 300 plus rankings. No, they're all top 50, these guys. So they're really strong. But Italy seems like a bit of a better tournament playing team for the most part. Not by a lot, though. So it could, I just don't feel like Russia is going to be too comfortable. That's all I'm trying to say. But yeah, in that light of that, I'm going to say Italy's going to take it 6-2 once again.
It'll be a very interesting match, but I'm also going to have to give Italy the edge, and I'm going to say it could even be as much as like 6-3 or 4.
Yeah, I think Italy just scales a tiny bit better than Russia, and seeing the difficulty of the maps that have come up for this semi-final pool, I do have to give them just a tiny bit of the edge. But it's going to come down a lot to the third player in each team and who's performing best on that day, who's kind of feeling most comfortable on that mod or this pick, because we all know well the kind of the legendary skill of players like Kama and Nelly and Memoriola and so on. So like, I don't think they're going to have a problem with the semi-final pool, but I think that some of their teammates are going to have a problem, and it's how they cope that's going to determine the outcome of the match.
All right, see. Then next up, let us correct something. It's best of 13 this round. We forgot. We're so sorry. It's not.
Well, everyone's predictions are already wrong because
They're
you've
all
got 7.
This
is why
Salo
for
scores. Telling us that real quick in chat. But yeah, we don't do scores anymore. We just absolutely we're not the smartest of people, it seems. USA versus Australia is next up in the losers bracket.
You just skipped right over Chile, Canada.
I just skipped over Chile. My apologies.
We need to hurry, but we're wasting even more time just being wrong.
Take over, JVH. Just
play
do
this
it.
game. What do you
just
want?
do it, JVH. Oh my god.
So yeah, Chile looked really strong. Canada have also looked very strong, beating out Taiwan. I think this could be a real kind of humdinger of a game. Could go back and forth very nicely. Both teams have very similar strengths, very few kind of obvious weaknesses. But I think I want to give a very slight favor to Canada, just because in the recent matches they've looked slightly more convincing in their performances overall. I know that Chile have an excellent team of tournament veterans, and you're both probably going to say that I'm an idiot and I'm going to lose that one too. But I think Canada are a team that have been on the up as the tournament's progressed.
I actually have to agree with you. I think Canada has the advantage in this match.
I mean, you played against them in round of 16, Zach, so you have a bit more information on them.
We've also been doing like scrim matches in other rounds as well, and they're doing really good.
Oh, I'm not entirely sure. My heart still says Chile, just because I believe that the mods will be stronger on their end for the most part compared to Canada. But I do believe that Canada will just be stronger on no mod, probably be strong on double time if it comes down to it as well, if they practice, and they seem to scrim a lot. So I'm calling a tiebreaker. You know what? I'll do that. I'll just call a tiebreaker. I'm saying 6-5, and then if it comes down to that tiebreaker, it'll go to Canada as well. I do.
Mean
believe,
7-6.
Stop it! Stop it!
Stop arguing.
No
2 matches
scorelines.
to go. We got 4 minutes.
Tiebreaker.
Go.
That's all I'm saying. USA, Australia. I think Australia had a very nice run in this tournament, but then again, I believe that there's more potential to be seen in the USA still. Just a tad little bit more, and I think that's just going to be the driving force here for USA. So don't disappoint me, Zach. I'm expecting this to come down to 6-2 for the USA.
I'm a little biased, so I don't want to give a prediction here.
Still, you have to. 6-2, I said again. 7-2. 7-2, everyone.
I think we definitely have the potential to have a pretty convincing win, but we'll just have to see how they do. They've been doing pretty good so far, so we'll see how they play.
Yeah, Australia looked pretty good in beating Germany, but they did have some kind of fairly obvious weaknesses that I think that Americans will be able to exploit. And I think the US definitely has unfinished business in this tournament. They don't want to let that 6-5 tiebreaker loss in quarterfinals to be the end, so to speak. So, yeah, I think the US is going to take this one.
Right, so finally we have China versus Indonesia. So two of the stronger teams are going to be battling each other in the losers bracket already, meaning one will be out. Kind of weird to see. But yeah, considering Indonesia's performance in this tournament so far compared to China's, I'm going to give this to China pretty confidently as well, I believe. Unless Indonesia, for some reason, magically comes back in this tournament and just a lot better this round than the other rounds, which I had hoped for every round so far. It just doesn't seem to be picking up too well. And that's why I believe that China should be stronger and take it quite convincingly, like 7-1, 7-2, perhaps.
To give the advantage to China, but Indonesia could just, come out really strong and, pull a Hong Kong.
We're using that as an official term now, huh?
Hong Kong, yeah.
Yeah, so this is a little kind of reshades of the 2016 grand final that everyone was kind of hyped to see Indonesia in the final and China coming through the losers bracket, but in the end it was a bit of a blowout. China won, I think, 7-3 and 7-1. China, I don't think, are a team to be too negatively impacted mentally by that loss to Hong Kong, although we kind of hyped it up as being a massive thing. I don't think that they're going to be that bothered by it. Indonesia have really good players, and I don't think that the tournament difficulty has scaled beyond them yet. But I do think that China will kind of win this one with a few points to spare.
Yeah, like you said, China is probably... They're kind of used to this with South Korea so far already. And this time around it happened with Hong Kong. So I think they'll mentally be fine. Indonesia will be mentally fine too. It just really comes down to skill level in this sense. And I think China should be stronger. So yeah, that's going to do for the recap. A few mistakes there with the best of score. But thanks for correcting us there in chat. We're not going to go over the conditional matches as already mentioned. We're going to leave it for what it is. We have 1 minute before the match starts between France and Hong Kong. So we have to get into that. Thank you, JBH and Zach, for joining me today. It was great to have you guys on and talk with you guys through the matches. So thank you very much.
No problem. Pleasure as always. Hope you enjoy the matches later today and tomorrow, of course.
Yeah, we shall definitely enjoy them. We're going to get into it as quickly as we possibly can. I'm going to redress real quick, and then we'll get into Hong Kong versus France. If you can't join us, then please follow the channel, so you will get a notification whenever we do go live with other matches. You can subscribe if you're feeling generous, and you can also buy banners on the website for the teams that are still in the tournament, so you'll support them, and the prize pool towards the tournament. But just stay here. Watch the match with it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Get a quick drink, like I might, and we'll be right back in like a minute or two, right? So stay tuned. We'll see you then. And yeah, if you're not there, have a good day. See you soon.
Thanks, everyone.